Okay, now you may start.
Good morning po everyone. Today we are about to present the chemistry of the environment. First off, we're going off with the chemistry of the atmosphere. Next slide please. The atmosphere is a thin layer of gases that surrounds the Earth, playing a crucial role in sustaining life. It monitors and regulates the planet's temperature by balancing radiation, absorbing electromagnetic energy from the sun and re-emitting it from the Earth's surface, and facilitating heat transfer across the globe. The atmosphere also acts as a shield, filtering harmful ultraviolet radiation and maintaining a stable environment by warming the planet during the day and cooling it at night. This protective layer ensures Earth remains habitable, safeguarding it from the harsh conditions of space. Next slide, please. The composition of the atmosphere. According to NASA, Earth's atmosphere is composed of 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, 0.93% argon, and 0.04% carbon dioxide. Trace gases including neon, helium, methane, krypton, hydrogen, and water vapor. Next slide. Structure of the atmosphere. The layers of the atmosphere consist of the exosphere, thermosphere, mesosphere, stratosphere, and the troposphere. Next slide, please. The troposphere, found in 0 to 11 kilometers from the Earth and 15 to 56 degrees Celsius. The troposphere is the closest layer to the Earth's surface where nearly all weather phenomena occur. Contains approximately 75% to 80% of the atmosphere's total mass and most of its water vapor. The air is warmest near the surface due to the heat absorption from the ground and cools as the altitude increases. Clouds, storms, and precipitation form here because the water vapor content. Commercial ah, right. Commercial aircraft typically fly in the upper troposphere, ends at the tropopause where the temperature stops decreasing with height. Next slide, please. The stratosphere, found 11 kilometers to 50 kilometers and temperatures of negative 56 to negative 2 degrees Celsius. The stratosphere lies above the troposphere and is characterized by temperature inversion, meaning the temperature increases with the altitude due to the presence of ozone. The ozone layer absorbs harmful ultraviolet radiation from the sun, which protects life on Earth and warms this layer. The air here is very dry and thin, making it ideal for the operation of jet aircraft and weather balloons. Ends at the stratopause, the transition into the mesosphere. The mesosphere, found in 50 to 85 kilometers and temperatures of negative 2 to negative 92 degrees Celsius. The mesosphere is the coldest layer of the atmosphere with the temperatures dropping as low as negative 92 degrees Celsius. It protects Earth by burning up the most meteoroids, causing them to disintegrate into fiery trails. This layer is hard to study since it is too high for aircraft and balloons and too low for satellites. Ends at the mesopause, the boundary leading to the thermosphere. The thermosphere experiences a dramatic increase in temperature due to the absorption of high energy X-rays, and ultraviolet radiation from the sun. While temperatures can rise up to 1,200 degrees Celsius, the air is so thin that it would not feel hot to a human. This is where aurora occurs, caused by the collision of charged particles from space with atmospheric atoms and molecules, creating dazzling displays like the northern and southern lights. Satellites and the International Space Station orbit in this layer where drag from the sparse air molecules is minimal, ends at the thermopause transitioning into the exosphere. The exosphere is about 500 kilometers. The exosphere is the outermost layers of Earth's atmosphere, gradually fading into outer space, composed primarily of hydrogen and helium, the, the lightest gases which can escape into space. Air molecules are sparse that collisions between them are extremely rare, making this region almost a vacuum. This layer has extremely high temperatures due to solar radiation but would feel cold because of the low density. Satellites in this region have stable orbits with minimal resistance. Structure of the atmosphere. Air pressure decreases as we increase altitude. Why? It is because the pressure of the air can be related to the weight of the air in a given place. When we rise in altitude through the atmosphere, there is some air underneath us and some air above us. Yet, there is still less air above us than there was at the lower altitude. The air temperature is highest near the surface and decreases as the altitude increases. Why? It is because variations in the properties of the air reach outward from the center of the Earth. The sun heats the Earth's atmosphere and part of its heat is heated by the air near the surface. The hot air is either diffused or convected into the atmosphere. There's even less air to breathe. Next slide, please. Earth's radiation slash energy balance. The Earth's radiation and energy balance is a critical mechanism that regulates the planet's temperature and climate. Energy from the sun reaches the Earth primarily in the form of shortwave radiation, which includes visible light, ultraviolet radiation, and some infrared radiation. The total solar energy arriving at the top of Earth's atmosphere, known as the solar constant, averages about 1,340 watts per square meter of, of this energy. About 30% is reflected back into the space by clouds, atmospheric particles, and reflective surfaces like snow and ice, a phenomenon called Earth's albedo. This reflection helps to maintain the planet's energy equilibrium by preventing excess heating. Next slide. Approximately 70% of the incoming solar radiation is absorbed by the Earth's surface, atmosphere, and clouds. The Earth's surface absorbs about 50%, which heats the land and oceans, while the remaining 20% is absorbed by the atmosphere and clouds, mainly by greenhouse gases and water vapor. This absorbed energy drives vital processes such as the photosynthesis, evaporation, and atmospheric circulation, maintaining the natural systems that support life on Earth. Once absorbed, the energy is re-emitted by the Earth's surface as a long-wave infrared radiation. Some of this radiation escapes directly into space, allowing the planet to cool. However, much of it is absorbed by greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide, methane, water vapor, and ozone. These gases then re-radiate the energy in all directions, trapping heat near the surface. This phenomenon, known as the greenhouse effect, is essential for keeping Earth's surface warm enough to sustain life. Without it, Earth's average temperature would be significantly lower, making the planet uninhabitable. Balance between Balance between incoming solar radiation and outgoing infrared radiation is referred to as Earth's energy budget. This balance ensures a stable climate when incoming energy equals outgoing energy. Disruptions to this balance, such as an increase in greenhouse gas concentrations, can lead to global warming or cooling trends. For example, excessive greenhouse gases trap more heat, tipping the balance and causing a rise in global temperatures. Clouds and aerosols play a significant role in Earth's radiation balance. Clouds reflect sunlight back into the space, contributing to Earth's albedo and cooling the planet. Simultaneously, clouds can absorb long-wave radiation, trapping heat and contributing to warming. Aerosols, tiny particles in the atmosphere, have a dual effect. They reflect sunlight, leading to surface cooling, but can also absorb heat, altering local temperatures. These interactions make clouds and aerosols critical components of the Earth's energy system. Albedo effect. The proportion of solar radiation reflected by a surface further influences Earth's energy balance. Lighter surfaces like ice and snow reflect more sunlight and help cool the planet, while darker surfaces such as forests and oceans absorb more heat. As global warming causes ice to melt, the albedo decreases, leading to the greater heat absorption. This creates a positive feedback loop, accelerating the effects of climate change and further reducing ice cover. Maintaining Earth's radiation and energy balance is vital for regulating global temperatures, supporting ecosystems, and ensuring habitable conditions. Heat absorbed at the surface is redistributed globally through atmospheric and oceanic circulation, helping to moderate temperature extremes. Additionally, Earth's surface emissivity, eh, emissivity, which determines how efficiently it radiates heat, plays a key role in this balance. Overall, the energy balance is fundamental to sustaining life and the climate systems that make Earth unique and a thriving planet.
Hello, hello everyone. I'm I'm Clyde Dumrigue. I'm the one who present this greenhouse effect. Next slide, please. Greenhouse effect. The greenhouse effect is a natural process that occurs when greenhouse gases in a planet's atmosphere trap heat and warm the planet's surface. The term greenhouse effect was coined by Swedish physicist and physical chemist Svante Arrhenius in 1896. Next slide, please. How it works. Greenhouse gases absorb infrared radiation from the sun and remit it in all directions. What it does, warms the Earth's surface and lower atmosphere. Why it's important? Keeps the planet at suitable temperature for life. But what causes it? Greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, ozone, and some artificial chemicals. What's happening? Human activities have increased the concentrations of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, which has changed the Earth's climate. What the effects are? Dangerous effects to human health and welfare and to ecosystems such as more hot days and heat waves, wildfires, and heat-related illnesses. Greenhouse gases are molecules in the Earth's atmosphere that trap heat and prevent it from escaping into space. They allow sunlight to pass through, but they stop the heat from leaving the atmosphere. These are the types of greenhouse gases. Hindi lang po yan ang mga greenhouse gases, madami pa po. But ito lang po talaga ang madami sa atmosphere natin. Like water vapor, the most common greenhouse gases. Carbon dioxide, the primary greenhouse gas responsible for recent climate change. Methane, produced by natural and human activities including agriculture, wetlands, and fossil fuel extraction. Nitrous oxide, produced by agricultural activities and natural biological processes. F gases, a group of halogen-bearing gases including chlorofluorocarbons that are used in coolants, solvents, and more. Ground-level ozone, created by a chemical reaction between emissions from automobiles, power plants, and other sources. These are the contribution of greenhouse gases. Sa pan po natin, carbon, 49%, and the list is 18%, 17%, 6%, 8%, and 2% sa H2O. Major sources. These are the sources of greenhouse gases: fossil fuel combustion, deforestation, respiration, fermentation. Wetlands, marshy places, anaerobic decomposition of organic waste, forest fires, refrigerant, aerosol propellant, manufacturing foams, natural soils, fertilizers, fossil fuel combustion, burning of biomass, photochemical reaction in stratosphere, and diffusion into troposphere. Vaporization process. Next slide, please. The amount of heat a greenhouse gas contributes to the greenhouse effect depends on how much heat it absorbs, how much it rejects, how much of it is in the atmosphere, its ability to absorb and reject energy, the length of time it remains in the atmosphere. Different greenhouse gases have different chemical properties and are removed from the atmosphere by different processes. For example, carbon dioxide is absorbed by forests, soil, and the ocean, while fluorinated gases are destroyed by sunlight in the upper atmosphere.
Hello everyone, I am Giancarlo G. Patalitan and I am the presentator of ozone layer. Next, formation of ozone. Ozone O3 is concentrated in the stratosphere at various heights from 16 to 40 kilometers at different latitudes. This layer of atmosphere enveloped by ozone is known as ozone layer. It is also known as ozone sphere, ozonosphere, or ozone umbrella. The thickness of ozone layer is measured in Dobson units or DU, with 1 DU is equals to 0.01 millimeter of the compressed gas at 0 Celsius and 760 millimeters Hg pressure. Next slide, please. It is formed naturally in stratosphere by the action of ultraviolet radiation. So, dito, dito guys, ito yung process kung paano nagagawa yung ozone layer. Next slide please. It acts as protective shield as it absorbs the UV radiation responsible for DNA mutation and skin cancer. The UV radiation may also cause global warming, foster degradation and of plastic, fabrics, and etc. Next slide, please. The three main reasons where human activity has influenced the ozone layer are the following. Direct emission of NOx by supersonic transport. They just fly over the tropopause, tropopause to maintain their speed because of low resistance. Second, the use of chlorofluorocarbons. And the third is increase of use of nitrogenous fertilizer. Next slide, please.
That is chlorofluorocarbon, hindi colo-fluoro, ha? Chloro yan.
Chloro po, sir. Sige po, sir. First, nitric oxide converts ozone into O2 and NO2. Second, NO2 form reacts with the nascent oxygen. Third, NO is regenerated, which again reacts with ozone, and the depletion continues by the chain reaction. Next slide, please. CFCs are inert in normal physical conditions, but under the influence of UV radiation, they form chloride radical, and the following reaction takes place. The chloride-free radical, or Cl, regenerated is highly stable, and one chloride-free radical can break one molecule of ozone. Next slide, please. Global action against ozone depletion. First, Vienna Convention. The convention laid a framework for global cooperation on arresting ozone depletion. 20 nations, including most of the major CFC producers, signed the Vienna Convention in 1985. Next slide, please. Global action against ozone depletion. 1. Montreal Protocol. Then, in 1987, 43 countries signed the Montreal Protocol. The protocol is ratified today by 197 members. Ozone depleting substances, as mentioned above, have been established for phase out and are to be replaced by HFCs, hydrofluorocarbons. With the introduction of the Montreal Protocol, CFC concentrations in the atmosphere have been undergoing a steady decline since peaking in 1994. Efficient equivalent chlorine, or EECl, levels in the atmosphere had declined by around 10% by 2008. Next slide, please. Next presentation, please.
Sir, wait lang, magpalit lang po kami ng PPT. Daniel, pasin naman sa GC. So next is acid rain. Next slide, please. Acid rain. Acid deposition. It is a general term that includes any form of precipitation with acidic components, such as sulfuric or nitric acid, that fall to the ground from the atmosphere in wet or dry forms. So acid rain or acid, wait lang. So acid rain or acid deposition is a general term used. So ito is nagko-contain ng acidic elements like nitric or sulfuric acid. This includes rain, snow, fog, hail, and even acidic dust. So next. What causes acid rain? Acid rain results when sulfur dioxide or SO2 and nitrogen dioxide or NOx are released into the atmosphere and carried by wind and air currents. Nitric and sulfuric acids are produced when SO2 and NOx react with oxygen, water, and other chemicals. After combining with water and other substances, these eventually fall to the ground. So nabubuo yung acid rain kapag ang SO2 or sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxides ay nare-release sa atmosphere at natatangay ng hangin and air currents. When SO2 and NOx reacts with oxygen, water, and other chemicals, dun ngayon napaproduce yung nitric and sulfuric acids. Next, please. The combustion of fossil fuels produces the majority of the SO2 and NOx that generate acid rain, with the minor amount coming from natural sources like volcanoes. The primary atmospheric sources of SO2 and NOx are: first is burning of fossil fuels to generate electricity. Two-thirds of SO2 and one-fourth of NOx in the atmosphere come from the electric power generators. Next is the vehicles and heavy equipment, then manufacturing, refineries, and other industries. Next. So itong illustration, yung number 1 is emission of SO2 and NOx that are released into the air. Yung illustration na to is the pathway for acid rain in our environment. So first is yung emissions of SO2 and NOx that are released into the air, where the pollutants are transformed into acid particles that may be transported long distances. These acid particles then fall to the earth as wet and dry deposition, such as dust, rain, snow, etc. And it may cause harmful effects on soil, forests, streams, and lakes. So next. Forms of acid deposition. So there are two forms, wet deposition and dry deposition. Yung wet deposition, it is the most common definition of acid rain. Then the sulfuric and nitric acids formed in the atmosphere fall to the ground mixed with rain, snow, fog, or hail. Ang pinaka-common na definition nung acid rain is wet deposition. Next is dry deposition. In the absence of moisture, acidic gases and particles can potentially form dry deposition from the atmosphere. So sabi nga dun, kapag walang moisture, napo-form yung dry deposition. The acidic particles and gases may deposit to surfaces like water bodies, vegetation, buildings, quickly, or may react during atmospheric transport to form larger particles that can be harmful to human health. Then, this acidic water travels over and through the ground after the following rain has washed the accumulated acids of a surface, harming fish and insects as well as plants. Next. So in measuring acid rain, meron tayong tinatawag na na pH scale. Acidity and alkalinity are measured using a pH scale for which 7.0 is neutral. The lower a substance pH or less than 7, the more acidic it is. Then the higher a substance pH or greater than 7, the more alkaline it is. Then the pH of normal rain is around 5.6, making it slightly acidic due to the dissolution of carbon dioxide, forming weak carbonic acid. The pH of acid rain is typically between 4.2 and 4.4. Next, please. What are the effects of acid rain on ecosystems? First, the effects of acid rain on fish and wildlife. So acid rain's ecological effects are most evident sa aquatic environments tulad ng streams, lakes, and marshes, kung saan harmful ito sa mga fish and other wildlife. So habang dumadalo ito sa lupa, yung acidic na rainwater can leach aluminum from the particles ng soil and then dadalo ito sa mga streams at lakes. Kapag mas maraming acid na napupunta sa ecosystem, mas maraming aluminum ang nare-release. Some types of animals and plants may survive in acidic waters. However, others will be lost as the pH drops because they are acid sensitive. So meron mga types ng plants and animals that are able to tolerate acidic waters and moderate amounts of aluminum. However, yung iba ay acid sensitive kaya they will be lost as the pH declines. Or yung quantitative measure kung gaano ka-acid or ka-basic ang liquid solutions. Generally, yung mga young or bata ng most species ay mas sensitive sa environmental conditions kaysa sa adults.
Nakamute ka.
Nag-mute, sir. Saan yung last, sir?
Yan sa slide na yan.
Itong first slide na to, sir.
Ito, yung effect of acid rain on ecosystems and sinabi mo, typically on adult and maliit na fish, yan.
Ayun, sir. So next is yung some acidic lakes have no fish. A fish or animal species may be able to survive in moderately acidic water, but the plants or animals it consumes may not. So example nito is yung mga palaka na may critical pH around 4. Pero yung mga kinakain nila na mayflies is mas sensitive and may not survive pH below 5.5. Next, please. Effects of acid rain on plants and trees. Acid rain leaches aluminum from the soil, and itong yung aluminum is harmful sa plants and trees. Acid rain also removes minerals and nutrients from the soil that trees need to grow. Next, please. Effects of acid rain on materials. So not all acidic deposition is wet. Sometimes dust particles can become acidic as well, and this is called dry deposition. When acid rain and dry acidic particles fall to the ground, the nitric and sulfuric acid that make the particles acidic may damage the surfaces of statues, buildings, and other man-made objects. The acidic particles corrode metal and accelerate the deterioration of paint and stone. Additionally, nadudumihan nila yung mga exteriors ng monuments and other structures. Next, please. So, yung mga consequences ng damage can be costly. First is the damaged materials that needs to be repaired or replaced, increased maintenance cost, and loss of detail on stone and metal statues, monuments, and tombstones. Next, please. Ay, may add lang ako. Yung effects ng acid rain on human health. Humans may inhale fine sulfate and nitrate particles created when SO2 and NOx react in the atmosphere. So multiple studies have shown a relationship between these particles and effects on lung function, such as difficulty breathing for individuals with asthma and heart functions sa mga taong may higher risk of heart disease. So yun lang, next. Sir, wala po si Dwayne, kaya ako na lang magbabasa ng report niya, sir.
Okay.
Next, please. Photochemical smog. Typo lang yan, sir. The term smog was coined to describe the mixture of smoke and fog that engulfed London in the 1950s. Today, though, we are more familiar with the photochemical smog produced by the reactions of vehicle emissions in the presence of sunlight. Next, please. Automotive exhaust consists primarily of NO, CO, and various unburned hydrocarbons. These gases are called major pollutants because they are set in motion a series of photochemical reactions that create secondary pollutants. The secondary pollutants, mainly NO2 and O3, are responsible for the buildup of smog. Next. Hydrocarbon oxidation produces various chemical intermediates, such as alcohols and carboxylic acids, which are all less fragile than the hydrocarbons themselves. These liquids are gradually reduced into tiny droplets of liquids. The dispersion of these droplets in the air, called aerosols, disperses the sunlight and decreases visibility. This interaction sometimes lets the environment seem hazy, as the mechanism for photochemical smog formation has been better known. Significant attempts have been made to reduce the buildup of primary contaminants. Most cars are now fitted with catalytic converters engineered to oxidize CO and unburned hydrocarbons to carbon dioxide and water, and to reduce NO and NO2 to N2 and O2. Next. So yan yung illustration ng formation ng photochemical smog and its effects. Next, please.
Good day, everyone. My name is Brian Kennedy Gamosa, and I will be the one to begin the discussion about the next topic. And we will start with the physical properties of water. Water, due to its high boiling point, occurs primarily in its liquid state. Compared to many other substances, this means it remains liquid this remains in its liquid state in a range of conditions where life thrives. While the other two forms, ice and steam, play an important role in shaping the environment. The solid form ice is less dense than liquid water, allowing it to float and insulate aquatic ecosystems in cold climates. Steam or water vapor plays a key role in regulating Earth's climate through the water cycle and by acting as a greenhouse gas. Together, these forms of water contribute to maintaining environmental balance and supporting life. Water, due to its water has a high surface tension. Surface tension forces overpower gravity and viscous forces, and the air-water interface becomes an essential, impenetrable barrier. This is now a significant influence in the climate and lifestyle of small insects, bacteria, and other microorganisms. Next slide, please. This table shows the various physical and chemical properties of water. Next po. Important thermal properties. Water has a high specific heat capacity, meaning that it needs to gain a lot of energy to raise its temperatures. Conversely, it also needs to lose a lot of energy to lower its temperature. Water's specific heat capacity is 4.2 kilojoules per gram per degree Celsius. Next slide, please. Water has a high latent heat of vaporization, which means a lot of energy is required to evaporate it. When it evaporates, water draws thermal energy out of the surface it's on, which can be observed in sweating. Next slide, please. Water also has a high latent heat of fusion, meaning that at 0 degrees Celsius, water must lose a lot of thermal energy before it freezes. Thus, liquid water can reach temperatures of down to negative 100 degrees Celsius before it forms ice. Next. Next presenter na po.
Sir, kay JC sana to pero nagpa-excuse din siya. Kaya si na lang, si Daniel Mark na lang magre-report nito, sir.
Hello po, good afternoon po sa ating lahat. Ito po ang relevance to water treatment. Pero basahin ko na lang po. The fundamental physical properties of water that are important to environmental science are density and viscosity. Number 1 is measure of the concentration of matter. A, mass density. B, mass over volume. Sige. Dissolved impurities change the density in direct proportion to their concentration and their own density. So yung letter B, specific weight, G is equal to force over volume. Or then specific gravity po yung S is equal to P over PC. Yeah. Number 2 is viscosity. Measure of resistance to movement of fluids. A is dynamic viscosity or absolute viscosity. Letter B po is kinematic viscosity. Next na po.
So we are going to tackle about the states of solution impurities. So there are 4 classification of solution impurities. Those are the dissolved substance, suspended solids, colloidal particles, and the color. Next slide, please. So we are going to define first what is dissolved substance. So the substance is homogeneously dispersed in liquid. They can be simple atoms or complex molecular compound. So dissolved substance is a substance that disperses uniformly within another substance. So yung dissolved substance, also known as solute, makikita naman natin dyan sa picture, di ba? May solute and solution. Yung solute is a substance na madidissolve sa solvent at magpo-form siya as a solution. So next slide, please. So letter A, distillation. Either the liquid or the substance itself is changed from a liquid phase to a gas phase to achieve separation. So we heat the mixture, for example, yung water and food coloring. Kapag pinainit natin yun hanggang sa maging vapor siya, yung vapor na yun, mag-rise siya into a special tube na kapag pinalamig yung tube na yun, babalik yung vapor into a liquid form na magre-result ng separation ng water at yung food color. So, yung distillation makakatulong din para makagawa tayo ng clean water. So, letter B, precipitation. Substance in liquid phase combines with another chemical to form a liquid phase that's achieving separation from water. Napapansin nyo ba na when we mix two things together, like kunwari, water and milk, sometimes hindi sila naghahalo ng mabuti. And precipitation happens when one things turn into tiny particles that settle down. Kagaya dyan sa picture, doon sa last part ng picture. Doon makikita natin na nagsettle yung ibang particles, which is yun na yung pag-form ng precipitate. So next slide, please. Letter C, adsorption. Absorbed substance react with a solid particle to form a solid particle substance complex. So adsorption, it is when one substance attracts and holds onto another substance on its surface. So, paano ba ito nagwo-work? Meron tayong sponge-like material na nag-a-attract ng particles. For example, meron kang sponge, tapos nahulog mo yun sa putikan. Yung putik or yung particles, mag-stick siya doon sa surface ng sponge. So, yung particles, na-trap siya doon sa surface ng sponge. So, para hindi kayo malito sa absorption at absorption. Yung adsorption, molecules adhere to the surface, dun sa surface siya of the phase. Sa absorption naman, molecules are drawn into the bulk of the phase. So, yun yung pinagkaiba nila. So, letter D is the liquid extraction. The substance is extracted and carried away by another liquid. So yung liquid extraction, it's a process to separate two or more liquids that don't mix. Isang example niyan is yung water and oil. So sa liquid extraction, magko-combine ka ng dalawang liquids na hindi nagmi-mix. Pagkatapos nun, mag-i-introduce ka ng pangatlong liquid that attracts one of the mixed liquid. So just by that, yung attracted liquid, mag-move siya into the solvent, leaving the other liquid behind. So, ganun yung process ng liquid extraction. So, next slide po. So, number 2, suspended solid. So, ito yung is a tiny particles that float around. It is a mixture of fluids and undissolved particles on it. Yung particles, pwedeng visible siya at magsisettle siya over time. For example, putik, filterable siya because possible na ma-separate siya sa water by filtration and hindi siya nadidissolve sa water kundi nagmi-mix siya. Letter number 3. Next slide po, please. So number 3, yung colloidal particles. So ito yung mga tiny particles, typically between 1 to 1,000 nanometers in size, suspended in a fluid. They are too small to settle, but large enough to remain dispersed. So, as we can see naman sa picture, hindi na-dissolve yung particles because these are tiny units na suspended in fluids. Ang pinagkaiba ng suspended solids sa colloidal particles is mas malaki ang particles ng suspended solids na nasa halos 100 nanometers siya at nagsisettle over time while mas maliit ang colloidal particles at hindi nagsisettle. Next slide. Yun, turbidity. Turbidity is the cloudiness or haziness of a liquid created by a significant number of individual particles that are generally invisible to the naked eye, comparable to smoke in the air. So, yung turbidity, it refers to cloudiness or haziness of a fluid because of the suspended particles. So, yun. Number 4. Next slide po, please. So, color. So, yung combination of dissolved and colloidal material. So, it refers to the visible color changes caused by dissolved substance or impurities. So water coloration results from dissolved and colloidal materials, primarily complex organic compounds from organic matter decomposition. Understanding the sources and implications of water coloration informs effective management strategies for maintaining water quality. Head po. Next slide, please. So yung chemical units used to perform stoichiometric calculation. Number one dyan is weight percent or P, employed to express appropriate concentration of commercial chemicals or of solid concentration of sludge. Next slide. Number two, equivalent weight, frequently used in softening redox. EW is equal to MW divided by the number of electrons transferred in redox reaction or the number of protons transferred in acid or base reaction. So acid or base reaction, N is the number of hydrogen ions that the molecules transfer. Precipitation reaction naman is N is the valence of the elements in question. So, next slide. Number three is pH. pH is the term used universally to express the intensity of the acidity of a solution. More precisely, acids are defined as those compounds that release a proton, whereas bases are those compounds that accept protons. Thus, pH is the measurement of hydrogen ion activity. Next slide. pH describes water relative acidity, provides no measure of how the water will tolerate addition of acid or base to the system. pH is measured according to electrometric principle based on the Nernst equation. So yung temperature is the only variable. Next.
Okay, addition lang, no? The meaning of pH is power of hydrogen. Okay, that's why we are looking into the H plus ion na sinabi ni Miss Bukayo. Okay, next.
Sige po, sir. Okay, hardness of water. So the hardness of water is a characteristic property of which water prevents lathering of soap. This is due to presence of certain salts like Ca2+ and magnesium 2+, and other heavy materials dissolved in water. Soaps or sodium or potassium salts of higher fatty acids like C17H35 COONA. So yung illustration nga po dyan, yung hardness po ng water. The hard water. The water which does not give lather with soap is called hard water. This is due to presence of certain salts like calcium 2+, magnesium 2+, and other heavy materials dissolved in water. Thus, the cause of hardness is the precipitation of soap and hence preventing lathering at first. When the hardness causing ions are removed and as insoluble soaps, water becomes soft and forms lather. The illustration nga rito is yung rain pupunta sa topsoil, may bacteria action. Sa subsoil po is carbon dioxide plus water. Then pababa po sila sa limestone, which is the calcium carbonate. Hardness of water is due to the presence of bicarbonates, chlorides, sulfates, and nitrates of calcium and magnesium. These soluble salts get mixed with natural water due to the following reasons. When natural water containing carbon dioxide flows over the rocks of the limestone and dolomite, they get converted into soluble bicarbonates. Thus, water gets hardness. When natural water flows over the rocks containing chlorides and sulfates and nitrates of calcium and magnesium, these salts dissolves in water. Thus, water gets hardness. Important note is yung CaCO3 and MgCO3 or dolomite are both insoluble in water, but the bicarbonate is quite soluble. So yung gypsum or CaSO4 and MgCSO4 may also go into solution to contribute to the hardness. So yung classification po kung gaano ka-hardness po yung water, mg per liter. 0 to 75 is soft. 75 to 100 is moderately hard. 100 to 300 is hard. Then 300 plus po is very hard. So, may disadvantage rin pala mga hardness ng water. In domestic use, washing, hard water when used for washing purposes does not producing lather freely with soap. As a result, cleaning quality of soap is decreased and a lot of it is wasted. So, bathing, when you bath or whatever, hard water does not lather freely with soap solution, but produces sticky scum on the bathtub and body. Thus, the cleaning quality of soap is depressed and a lot of it is wasted. Sa cooking naman, the boiling point of water is increased because of presence of salt. Hence, more fuel and time are required for cooking. So drinking naman is hard water causes bad effects on our digestive system. Moreover, the possibility of forming calcium oxalate crystals in urinary tracts is increased. Or magkaka-UTI kayo. Yeah. So types of hardness. Hardness of waters is mainly two types, temporary hardness and permanent hardness. Temporary hardness or carbonate hardness, defined as the amount of hardness equal to the total hardness or the total alkalinity, whichever is less, caused by the presence of dissolved bicarbonate of calcium, magnesium, and carbonate of Fe2+ or iron. So number 2 is permanent hardness or non-carbonate hardness. It is due to the presence of dissolved chlorides, nitrates, and sulfates of calcium, magnesium, iron, and other metals. Permanent hardness responsible salts are CaCl2, MgCl2, CaSO4, MgSO4, FeSO4, Al2, SO4. If the alkalinity is equal to or greater than the total hardness, then there is no non-carbonated hardness. So permanent hardness cannot be removed by boiling, but it can be removed by the use of chemical agents. Yun lang po sa hardness of water. Next presenter po, soil.
Sir, kay ano ata to? Kay Brian S. Lau, pero wala din siya, sir. Kaya ako na lang magbabasa. So, soil. Next, please. Soil, the basis of terrestrial ecosystems. Soil is a complex fusion of biological, chemical, and physical elements. Together, these elements create a dynamic, life-sustaining medium that stores carbon, filters water, and promotes plant development. Global food security, climate change mitigation, and soil health management all depend on an understanding of soil composition. These are the parameters used in soil chemistry. So yan. Next, please. What are the primary soil components? First, 45 to 50% mineral particles. These particles, which are made of weathered rocks and minerals, vary in size and content and affect the texture, porosity, and water holding capacity of soil. Next is organic matter, which is 5 to 10%. These are humus, living things, and decomposed plant and animal wastes all provide soil, fertility, structure, and biodiversity. Next is water, which is 20 to 40%. Microbial activity, nutrient availability, and plant growth are all impacted by soil moisture. Lastly, air, 20 to 40%. Microbial activity, nitrogen cycling, and root respiration are all impacted by soil aeration. Next, please. Secondary soil components. First is living organisms, which are insects, fungus, and microorganisms. This biota supports soil structure, nutrient cycling, and decomposition. Second is roots and plant debris. Plant matter affects the structure, organic matter, and water holding capacity of soil. Third is people and other animals. Termites, ants, and earthworms are examples of soil fauna that alter the fertility and structure of soil. Next, please. What the importance of soil components, secondary soil components. First is plant nutrition. The nutrients that plants need to grow are provided by the components of the soil. Second, the water filtration. By filtering water, the physical and biological characteristics of soil reduce pollution. Third is carbon sequestration. Lowers atmospheric carbon dioxide levels by storing carbon in soil organic matter. Fourth is biodiversity. A variety of microbiological and faunal communities are supported by soil constituents. Next, please. Soil components interact to form a complex, dynamic ecosystem. Global food security, environmental preservation, and sustainable soil management all depend on an understanding of these relationships. Evidence-based methods for preserving healthy soils will be informed by more research on the processes and composition of soil.
Reaction process in soil. Next, please. The main sources of ion to soil solution are mineral weathering, organic matter decay, rain, irrigation water, fertilization, and release of ions absorbed by clay and organic matter in soils. Reaction process in the soil include sorption and desorption, precipitation, dissolution, mobilization, mineralization, complexation, dissociation, gas dissolution, volatilization, and oxidation reduction. Next, please. Sorption and desorption. Sorption, the process by which one substance becomes attached to another types. Adsorption, the adsorption of molecules from the gases or liquid of the surface of the solid or liquid. For example, activated charcoal absorbing toxins. Absorption, the process in which substance penetrates into the bulk of another. Example, a sponge absorbing water. Ions exchange, a type of sorption where ions are exchanged between two substances, commonly seen in water softeners. Applications: water purification, gas storage, drug delivery, and environmental remediation. Next, please. First, desorption. The reverse process of desorption, where substance is released from another types. Mechanism. Desorption occurs when when the forces that bind a substance to surface or into medium are overcome, often through heat, pressure changes, or chemical reaction. Application. Rene- rene- Regeneration of absorbents like activated carbon, cleaning process, and release mechanism in controlled drug delivery. Next, please. Precipitation and dissolution. Precipitation and dissolution are fundamental processes in chemistry, geology, and environmental science. They involve the formation of dissolution of solid in a liquid medium. Precipitation, formation of a solid from a solution due to changes in condition like concentration of temperature. Dissolution process of a solid dissolving of liquid to form a solution. Mechanism precipitation. Supersaturation solution extended its solubility limits. Nucleation, formation of initial solid clusters. Crystal growth, addition of molecules, ions to the solid. Dissolution, breaking bonds, overcoming process holding the solid. Solvation, solvent molecules surround dissolved particles. Next, please. Immobilization and mineralization. Immobilization and mineralization are the key biological and geochemical processes that regulate the cycling of nutrients in ecosystem. These processes play a significant role in maintaining the fertility, regulating plant nutrient availability, and influencing environment quality. Next, please. Immobilization refers to the conversion of inorganic nutrients such as ammonium, NH4 plus NH4 plus NH4, or nitrate, NO3 minus NO3, into organic forms by microorganisms, making them temporarily unavailable for plant uptake. Next, please. Mineralization, the opposite process of immobilization, where the organic nutrients are broken down into inorganic forms by microbial activity, making them available to plant uptake. Next, please. Mechanism. Immobilization, microbial uptake, all microorganisms absorb inorganic nutrients to build their cereal structures. Storage of biomass. These nutrients remains in the organic form within microbial biomass until decomposition occurs. Mineralization. Decomposition, microorganisms decompose organic matter. Release of nutrients. Nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, and sulfur are released in inorganic forms such as ammonium or phosphate. Next, please. So, for example, immobilization. All microorganism immobilizing nitrogen in organic residues. Immobilization of phosphorus in organic matter. Mineralization, conversion of organic nitrogen in manure to ammonium, breakdown of plant residues, releasing inorganic phosphorus. Next. complexion and dissociation. Complexion, complexion as this and dissociation are essential processes in chemistry, particularly in the study of coordinate compounds. This process described in the interaction between metal ion and ligands, influencing the stability, reactivity, and structure of the compounds. Understanding of complexation and dissociation is fundamental in various fields, including biochemistry, medicine, environmental science, and industrial applications. Next, please. Complexation refers to the formation of coordinate complex, where a metal ion, often a transition metal, binds to one or more molecules or ions known as ligands. Ligands are species that have lone pairs of electrons which they donate to the metal center to form coordinate bonds. Next, please. Dissociation. In the reverse of complexation, it refers to the process in which a coordinate complex breaks apart into individual components. The metal ion and the ligands. The dissociation of complex depends on the various factors such as strength of the bonds between the metal ion and the ligands, the nature of the ligands, and the environment. Example, solvent and temperature. Next, please. Gas dissolution and volatilization. Gas dissolution and volatilization are gases in soil refers to the reaction occurring when the soil atmosphere and the soil solution, especially transfer the gaseous chemicals into the aqueous phase and the reverse, since the reaction involves movement of the gas into or out of liquid water in different form of condensation and vaporization of the pure liquid to gas and vice versa. An example of this solution in soil solution is the reaction of the carbon dioxide gas with water to form carbonic acid aqueous. H2O plus sige. H2O plus CO2 CO26 equals to H2O CO3. Next. So, oxygen, nitrogen, and sulfur almost have important gas dissolution and volatilization reaction. Ammonium is a common ion in a soil solution. However, when it deprotonates, informs ammonia that will volatilize NH4 plus AQ, NH3G plus H plus AQ. Next, please. The reverse reaction is used to dissolve ammonia gas, anhydrous ammonia, into solution to produce ammonia ions of the solution fertilization. The reaction predicts that adding anhydrous ammonia to soil would cause then pH of the soil solution to increase because the ammonia would protonate to ammonium, thereby consuming protons or hydrolyzing water and releasing hydroxide ions. Next, please. Oxidation and reduction. The gain of loss of electrons from the element cause of change in oxidation state. Often redox reaction result in changes in the physical state or molecular structures, and those may be combined with other reaction types. Many of the most reactive redox environments are those that exist at the interface between oxidized and reduced zones. The redox interface At the redox interface, chemical and mineral speciation, and continuously changing the redox interface is influenced by fluxes of temperature, water, nutrients, and gases through the soil. Oxygen fluxes into the out of soil system are especially important because O2 readily accept electrons in biotic and biotic processes and is the most common electron acceptor used to metabolism. Next. Next presenter.
Mr. Gava, next.
Wait lang daw, sir. Naglalag daw.
Soil salinity na muna kung matagal pa si Gava.
So, good afternoon, everyone. I will discuss with you the soil salinity. Soil salinity is a critical environmental issue affecting agricultural productivity, ecosystem, health, and water resources. This report explores the cause impacts and strategy for managing soil salinity. It highlights the importance of sustainable practice to mitigate salinity and ensure long-term soil health. Next, please. Soil salinity refers to the accumulation of soluble salts in soil to levels that negatively affect plant growth and soil functions. It's a widespread problem in arid and semi-arid regions, but can also occur in areas with improper irrigation or drainage practice. Understanding and addressing soil salinity is essential for maintaining agricultural productivity and protecting natural ecosystem. Next one is soil cause of soil salinity. Yeah. Natural cause weathering of parent rock materials rich in soluble salts. High evaporation rates in arid climates leaving salts behind. Rising groundwater bringing salts to the surface. Next, please. Human induced causes. For irrigation practice, including over irrigation and use of saline water. Inadequate drainage system leading to waterlogging, deforestation, and land use change, disrupting natural water cycles, industrial and agricultural runoff containing high salt concentrations. Next one, please. On agriculture, reduce crop yield, high salts concentrations inhibit water uptake by plants, leading to dehydration and nutrient imbalance. Loss of arable land salinity renders land unproductive, reducing available agricultural land. Crop specifics impact salt service crops, example, rice, beans, are more severely affected. And next one, please. The environment, degradation of soil structure salts can disrupt soil aggregation, leading to compaction and reduced permeability. Decline in biodiversity, saline soils are less hospitable to many plant and microbial species. Water quality issues, salinity can leach into waterways, affecting aquatic ecosystem and water for human use. Degradation of soil structure salts can disrupt soil aggregation, leading to compaction and reduced permeability. Decline in biodiversity, saline soils are less hospitable to many and microbial species. Water quality issues, salinity can leach into waterways, affecting aquatic ecosystem and water human use. Next, please. And measurement and assessment of soil salinity. Electrical conductivity measures the ability of a soil solution to conduct electricity, indicating salt levels. Total dissolved solids quantifies the concentration of dissolved salts in soil water samples. We also have sodium absorption ratio. Evaluates the proportion of sodium relative to calcium and magnesium affecting soil structure. And soil sampling and laboratory analysis provides detailed data on salt content and composition. And next, please. Management and mitigation strategies. Improve irrigation practice, use of drip and sprinkle irrigation to minimize water wastage, use of high quality, low salinity water for irrigation, soil and water management, installation of proper drainage systems to prevent waterlogging, leaching salts through controlled application of excess water, crop selection and rotation, growing salt tolerant crops, example barley, cotton in saline areas, rotating crops to reduce soil degradation, use of soil amendments, application of gypsum to place sodium and improve soil structure, organic matter addition to enhance soil properties. Management, next please. Management and mitigation strategies. Afforestation and reforestation. Planting salt-tolerant vegetation to reduce salinity and stabilize soils. Policy and community actions. Enforcing regulations on water use and land management, promoting awareness and education on sustainable farming practice. Next one. In conclusion, soil salinity poses significant challenge to agriculture ecosystem and water resources. Effective management requires an integrated approach combining scientific, technical, and community-driven strategies. Addressing soil salinity is critical for ensuring sustainable land use and global food security. That's all, and balik tayo sa soil acidity. si Mr. Gava po, sir.
Okay na po, wait lang. Understanding soil acidity. Soil acidity refers to concentration of hydrogen ions in soil solution. It measured using the pH scale, where lower pH value indicates higher acidity. Impact on agriculture. Acidic soil can negatively impact crop growth by reducing nutrients availability, increasing toxicity of elements, and hindering microbial activity. Next, please. Cause of soil acidification. Natural causes. Weathering rocks and organic matters. Decomposition contributes to natural soil acidification. Human activities. Agricultural practices like fertilizer application and using acidic pesticide can accelerate soil acidification. Acid rain. Atmospheric pollution and burning fossil fuel releasing sulfuric oxide and nitrogen oxide, which form acid and form sulfuric and nitric acid in the atmosphere, leading to acid rain. Next, please. Consequence of soil acidification. Nutrient deficiency. Acidic soil can lead to the leaching of essential nutrients like calcium, magnesium, and potassium, making unavailable to plants. Aluminum toxicity. Acid soil can release aluminum ions, which are toxic to plants, inhibiting root growth and nutrient uptake. Reducing microbial activity. Acidic soil can negatively impact beneficial soil microbes, reducing nutrient cycle and organic matter decomposition. Next slide po. Form of soil acidity. Exchangeable acidity. The amount of hydrogen and aluminum ion bonds to the soil particle, which can be readily exchanged with other cautions. Treatable acidity. The total amount of acidity that can be neutralized based on next po. Measuring soil acidity. pH measurement. Directly measure the hydrogen concentration in the soil solution which using pH meter or colorimetric analysis based on caution concentration. An indirect measure of soil acidity as high concentration of base of caution indicates a higher acidity to neutralize acidity. Base saturation. The percentage of exchange site occupied by base cation which inversely
Anong
related to
cations? Cations. Hindi mo ba yan nakita pa noon? Cations yan, hindi yan cations. Basahin mo
sorry sir,
mabuti.
cations which inversely related to exchange acidity. Managing soil managing acidic soil by liming. Liming. Calcium carbonate. Adding lime or calcium carbonate to the acidic soil neutralize acidity by providing hydroxide ions which react to hydrogen and aluminum ions. Buffer capacity. The amount of lime requires to raise the soil pH by 1 unit, which varies depending on the soil type and buffering capacity. Lime requirements. The amount of lime needed to achieve a desired pH calculated based on soil buffer capacity and current pH. Key takeaway and next step. Soil acidity is a significant factor of affecting agricultural productivity. Understanding its cause, consequence, and management strategies is crucial for sustainable implementing liming practice and other soil management techniques can help maintaining the optimal soil pH and ensuring healthy crops and growth.
That's all po, sir. Thank you.
So finally done na. Okay. So balik tayo sa chemistry of the atmosphere. Okay, balik nga dun sa slide na yun. Alright, so nabanggit ni Mr. Zipagan tungkol sa Earth's albedo, right? Pero hindi niya nabanggit kung ilang percent. So, the Earth's albedo is 30%. Okay, ibig sabihin nun, 30% of heat coming from the sun is reflected back to the outer space. Okay? So, there was a historical hypothesis about Earth. Diba? Yung Earth noon, so this is only a historical hypothesis by scientists. Ang Earth noon ay ball of ice. Kumbaga, ice ang buong Earth noon. Okay? with the help of the greenhouse gases, naging hindi siya ice. Okay? So ngayon, ang Earth natin ay continuously warming up. Okay? So nanggaling sa snowball, paparating tayo sa piley. Ganun. So nangyari yun kasi habang snowball ang Earth, habang ice siya, may mga volcanoes kasi noon. And volcano is a continuous combustion. Okay, yung combustion, it has a product of carbon dioxide. And carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas. And sinabi sa reports ninyo that your greenhouse gases, it traps heat from the sun. Okay, so that's why yung Earth natin ngayon ay habitable dahil sa greenhouse gases. So, maganda ang greenhouse gases noon, pero habang tumatagal kasi, dumadami ang greenhouse gases, sobrang umiinit naman ngayon. So, we don't want that. So, we have also problems sa greenhouse gases na. So, meron tayong greenhouse effect na sinasabi. Okay? Pero, there are movements from all over the world para ma-heal ang ating Earth, di ba? So, meron tayong mga protocols, like Montreal Protocol, ganun. So, they've been membering lots of countries from all over the world to participate sa goal na i-eliminate ang problema sa greenhouse gases. So, isa yun sa problema ay hindi lang carbon dioxide, kundi yung chlorofluorocarbon, yung CFCs. Diba? So, yun yung galing sa mga air conditioners natin na ginagamit natin. But those countries, yung protocol na yun, they have been banning CFCs or yung chlorofluorocarbon. So, instead, ang ginagamit na nila ay hydrofluorocarbon naman. Okay? So, ang ozone layer naman natin ay affected dahil sa mga chlorofluorocarbons na yan. Okay, so it has been explained here kung paano nagdi-disintegrate ang ozone layer. So, chlorides from the chlorofluorocarbon breaks the bond of the O3, yung ozone layer natin, and goes into a chain reaction. That's why depleted ang ozone layer natin. But because of these protocols, okay, because of these treaties na pinag-usapan ng mga leaders of the countries ng mundo, ay ang ozone layer natin ay healed na. Okay? Na-heal na ang ating ozone layer because of this. So that is a good movement from the leaders from all over the world. Okay, so that was an additional information about Earth noon. Okay. Ayan, and you have also covered about chemistry of water. So, ang pinaka-significant doon is the relation of that to water treatment. Okay? So, yung water natin from groundwater, typically ay naturally, ang groundwater natin dapat ay walang masyadong pollutants or contaminants. Okay? Pero dahil sa human activity, okay, meron na tayong mga pollutants from groundwater. So meron na tayong other chemicals like aluminum, ganun, from chemicals na ginamit sa wastewater treatment. And we have natural contaminants like hardness. Okay, we have the magnesium, we have the calcium, okay, and sometimes we have manganese. Okay, so we have to eliminate that before consuming. Kumbaga, kung gagamitin mo as pang-inom, ganun, makakasama sa atin. Okay, that's why we have water treatment technologies. Right now, meron tayong dito sa Region 2, sa Isabela, meron tayong water treatment doon. Okay? So, from river water to potable water. Ibig sabihin ng potable ay pwedeng inumin. So, ang main na contaminant doon ay iron and manganese. Ang manganese natin ay masama sa health natin kasi nakakabobo yun. Okay? So, that's why sa Ilagan, kailangan talagang water treatment doon kasi yung manganese ay hindi pwedeng ma-intake. Okay? Kasi nakakasira sa utak. Okay? So, nakakabobo. So, luckily, ang Ilagan City ay meron silang water treatment na. Pero hindi pa masyadong operational. I know because I work there. Okay? And I applaud Miss Bukayo dun sa pag-explain niya sa mga distillation, liquid extraction, absorption, and adsorption. Okay? So actually, those are separation processes na mas pinag-aaralan sa chemical engineering. So, mabuti at sinabi mo yun para medyo alam ng iba. Okay? So, you also have mentioned about the turbidity, about the color, ganun. So, yun actually ang mga parameters imposed by our government na dapat ay pasado. Okay, so meron tayong standards. May standards ang government kung ilan lang dapat ang turbidity, kung ilan lang dapat ang color ng water before itapon sa environment or before pwedeng i-consume. Okay, so yun ang ginagawa ng treatment facilities, water treatment facilities. Kailangan before you throw your garbage or your wastewater, kailangan pasado yan or nasa standard ng government natin. Okay. Right, so about naman sa soil chemistry, ang pinakagusto ko sanang ma-highlight ay tungkol sa soil acidity. Okay? However, kay Mr. Gava kasi may mga mali-mali siyang na pronounce na medyo naiinis ako. Yung cation, that is cation, hindi yung cation, ha? Right? Basahin ng maayos. Okay. Sa soil acidity natin, that is very crucial in terms of farming. Okay? Actually, sa pagfa-farm natin, hindi lang yan basta-basta. Sana. Pero ang traditional farming natin sa Pilipinas ay basta maglagay ka na ng ipaplant mo dyan, basta may lupa, di ba? Pero ang first step sana dyan, ipapalaboratory mo muna yung lupa mo, paalam mo yung pH niya, alam mo yung acidity, alam mo ba yung salinity, ganun, para alam mo kung ano yung dapat mong ilagay na fertilizer or di kaya anong mga species ng plants ang kailangan mong ilagay doon. Pero dito naman sa Cagayan naman, wala naman masyadong mataas ang pH ng soil at hindi masyadong saline. Okay? So, mabuti sana kung may alam din ng mga farmers tungkol dito. So this is the work of siguro agricultural engineers. Pero buti na lang hindi tayo agricultural engineers, no? But we should know. Pwede yung sabihin ng tatay-nanay natin kapag siyempre farmers sila, ipalaboratory muna yung lupa. Okay? Para alam natin kung anong kailangan nilang fertilizer. Malaman din kung anong klaseng fertilizer ang ilagay. Like yung ammonium na fertilizer o yung triple 14, gano'n, di ba? So, pag ipalaboratory kasi yan, so we have 3 nutrients na kailangan sa soil. We have nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium.
Group.
Ano yun, Mr. Gava? May sabihin ka.
Nalimutan ko nag-mute.
Okay, so we have also what we call the ORP sa water natin. Ang tawag doon ay oxidation reduction potential. So yun ang natural ability of the water to cleanse itself or kung linisin yung sarili niya. Okay? Pero hindi na siya ganoon ka-effective kasi upset ng ating Earth. Diba? So we need to save them. So any comments? Any more questions from other groups or mismo sa group members? Wala naman. Okay. Comment ko lang. Dapat medyo nag-effort naman kayo sa pag-search. Okay? Kasi hindi masyadong informative yung part ng soil. Okay? Soil chemistry. Pero that's okay. And masyadong wordy yung inyong mga presentations and masakit sa mata yung colors. Okay. Ako as colorblind person, hindi ko masyadong makita. Hindi ko masyadong makita yung mga sinulat ninyo. Alright? So leader, yung leader ninyo si Mr. Mateo pero wala siya ngayon. Sino na ang next na leader sa inyo? Mr. Zipagan? Ikaw ba, Mr. Zipagan?
Si Aris po.
Okay, Aris. Mr. Aris, pwede bang mag-send ka sa akin ng grades ng mga group members mo, pati yung leader, ha?
Sige po,
Okay,
sir.
PM mo na lang ako mamaya.
Sige.
Alright, next group. Thank you, group 2. Next naman natin, group 3, about corrosion.